Hello and welcome back to The Motivating Force. Joining me today, we have Josue, an aspiring Marine Corps officer who is currently finishing up ROTC and his bachelor's in the criminal justice field. And myself, Justin, a motivational speaker who's always more than excited to bring all of our ideas and topics to the table. Today, we're having an interesting conversation talking about pursuing your passion versus loving the hustle. Two very similar ideas that have a very conflicting foundation. And we thought it'd be interesting going through and talking about how to kind of take the best from both worlds with these ideologies and create a successful living for yourself.
I believe that, a lot of people say that you should follow and do what your passion is when it comes to like career choices and what you're doing with your life, not to just stick with like that 9 to 5, because usually that, this negative mindset, you kind of hate it. So everybody is always talking about, do what you love to do, follow your passion. We say it as well. But the thing is, we're trying to tell you that whole path for yourself should be to end up in a happier lifestyle, positive mental attitude about what you're doing. But it's not the lazy route. You have to love the hustle. You have to be able to work, because following what you love to do is a big process. And if you paid attention last week when we were doing the interview with Bill Nelson, and his passion was, making in his own business, not private, like small businesses and all that stuff. That's a lot more difficult than it seems, and you have to be able to really work at it instead of just thinking it's like this, this lazy route that, I like it, I can just get by with doing whatever, and it'll pay off in the end.
Yeah, as one of the more popular saying goes, you can't pay your bills on hopes and dreams.
Correct.
So there's definitely a balancing act here that needs to happen. Some of the things I picked out is a lot of catchy slogans you hear with turning your passion into money, making a living off of your hobbies, and then on the flip side, you have, grinding hard to earn the extra dollar, and the hard work, the hustling, it never stops. And we use these as like motivational quotes towards all these ideologies here. So, combining it together, I think a lot of influence for today's topic I got while reading The 4-Hour Workweek.
Yeah.
Which is a book I highly recommend everybody pick up and read, because the whole book is pretty much talking about this balancing act. This type of thinking, when we combine all these things together here, in the book they use the term the new rich.
Okay.
So getting off of the old school philosophy of how to become rich, and it focuses on the lifestyle and maximizing the dollar earned per minute versus the dollar earned per year. Because that's kind of how we judge that, right? How much money do you make a year? What's your salary? It's all yearly based. And when we talk about the new rich, we talk about, well, how much can you make a minute? And a lot goes into that because they want to combine your passion and they want to combine the hustle and they want it to make sense. It's a lot to do with working smarter instead of working harder. Yeah. You're going to have a hard time rolling a square down the hill than you will rolling down a ball.
Yeah.
The idea is like if we make $60,000 a year and you're working your 9 to 5 doing it, that's great. But it's an honest paycheck and honest living, right? And if I'm making $60,000 a year doing something I love, and I'm also only working 3 hours a day, 3 to 4 days a week, mm-hmm. People are probably going to pick that option more so than working the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So why is that?
But you were also mentioning when we talked about this book before, it's not only like the 3 hours a week, but you can maximize the time that you have in the day to also make more doing what you love to do. Correct?
Yeah, and that's why it's taking the idea that when you have a passion and you're able to turn it into a product of some sort, whether it's a service or an actual tangible product, you've got the ball rolling as far as pursuing your passion. And then on the hustle side of that, it's how do I take this thing that I love to do and monetize it? And I know we've talked about that a lot. We talked about it with, when you're out playing video games, like, well, you could always be streaming if that's something you wanted to do. If you love writing, why don't you go and fill in some time and do some news articles or just articles in general for these different companies that hire freelancers? Because it's not even necessarily like I'm telling you to change your 9 to 5. I'm telling you to add in a little bit of that side work. These freelancers, they do one project at a time. It's not necessarily something you have to do day in and day out.
Okay, that makes sense, because my next question was going to be about, for those people that say like they don't know what their passion is, what can we say to kind of get them to realize the things that should be the passion that they should be making into like a career or a side hustle or monetization in some way?
It's great that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
That's actually the last point I had.
Okay.
But we'll jump to it now.
My bad.
It's what I actually wrote down is it's actually easier to hustle than it is to pursue your passion.
Of course.
So, which is why I was going to kind of bring that up last after we covered the hustle, because it's like it's easy to work a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It really honestly is. It's almost like brainless activity.
Yeah, it's stability. You know, you're going to be there from 9 to 5. You know, you got something to do for that time.
Yeah, and pursuing your passion
it falls on the person, because they have to really narrow down what it is that they love to do, and then how to continue to do it for a set amount of time.
And then there's also a scary side to it, because if you work 9 to 5 and if you're salary or if you're hourly, you know what you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
If you're pursuing your passion, you have no idea. But that's kind of the beauty of it, because you can make nothing doing it and you can make an unlimited cap. Yeah. So it's, where do you want to put yourself? And you hit almost like an existential crisis when we think about your passion, because ultimately following a hobby, following a passion, especially when it comes to doing it like full time for work, you really need to find what's going to bring fulfillment in your life. What's going to help you do the most good in the world? Or how do you feel like you're most effective in doing that? And I think that's the critical step towards finding what your passion is. A lot of times people get burnt out at work, working, 40, 60, even 80 hours a week. And they're like, I don't have time for myself to figure out what these things are. And, using time and saying you're too busy is always a good excuse.
Yeah.
But you always have time to kind of dig into yourself and see, start off with the things you like doing in your free time.
That was the point of the question I just brought up. It's like, how can they get that click? And it's the things that they do in their free time. Like my little brother, I wanted to give this example real quick. He has this goal. He's 14. He has this goal that when he finishes high school, he wants to go to college to be a general surgeon or something like that in the medical field. He wants to be some kind of doctor. And I'm looking at him now, and his hobbies are like plants and like house plants and growing all these things and looking into different kinds of bushes and shrubberies. And I'm like, you don't have to follow, like, he might be choosing being a doctor because of like TV shows or whatever, or what's popular, or what he thinks is going to make so much money, not knowing that, there's a field that he can go into for botany, so it's kind of like pursuing his passion isn't going to make him a doctor with millions of dollars. But who's to say he can't do that with a doctorate in botany?
Exactly. It's taking that passion and turning it into that hustle.
Yeah.
And that hustle side is, okay, well, let's get into the science behind it. Because if you enjoy the thing, why would you not enjoy knowing how it works, why it works, and maybe even the discovery of new things in that field?
Yeah.
And I think, he's going to end up being a botanist.
I really hope so. And I keep mentioning like The Martian, the book and the movie with Matt Damon, because he's an astronaut who survived on Mars because he was a botanist. And I don't know, he could be the real life, guy from The Martian.
And I think a good example to show how this is actually like applicable to people, when you take guys like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He originally started off with, I believe it was PayPal. Right, it was some type of credit service.
Was it eBay? No, it was PayPal.
It was PayPal.
Okay,
yeah. It was some type of credit service, and developing a structure around that, which involves a lot of like computer sciences and things. You know what his first degree from college was?
Rocket science.
Rockets. Yeah, and then became an astrophysicist, and he was doing all these things, but that wasn't where the money was. The money was in putting people in a lot of debt.
I was going to say, one would think.
Yeah, but when you analyze that life and you see where he's came from, that type of thing allowed him to get the money to actually pursue his passion, because now it's all about SpaceX. It's all about Starlink and the satellites and just getting out into space.
Yeah.
So there's that double-sided coin again of how hard you have to hustle to pursue your passion and then actually pursuing your passion to make the money.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's not making money off of PayPal anymore. He's making it all off of what he's doing in space.
Yeah. And Tesla, but besides the point. But that shows all these different passions of his. He's created multiple different companies, and people can do that as well. If you're struggling in the 9 to 5 and you're thinking that it's just boring and you want to do something that you actually appreciate and that you love to do, narrow it down to the things you do in your free time or what just brings you joy to do or look into. Like I always talk about like science and astrophysics, but as much as I would like to do that right now, I just don't have the knowledge to pursue that. You know what I mean? Like I can't get a degree right now in the middle of finishing up another one that has nothing to do with that one. But I don't know.
I get what you're saying, and a lot of that involves that delayed gratification.
Yeah.
But being back more on topic it's that passion that brings fulfillment. And you start off that journey very simply by figuring out what you like to do in your free time. What's something you can do all day? If money wasn't a thing, you didn't have to make $1, what would you do with your time?
Don't you think now everybody's answer would pretty much be the same, seeing how my brother's interview and how he broke down the Gen Zs, like how they like to spend their time off, how that's going to be like, that's everyone's answer. They just want to sit around and be on their phones.
I mean, that gets into a really...
That's core values and...
That picks at my conspiracy side a little bit there.
Why? With
the government subduing people from pursuing their passions. And it is a big cultural shift in an issue there. But when we're speaking to our viewers here, we're speaking to people that want to make a difference in their life.
Yeah.
And they have the desire to get out there and make a change.
And the technology to look up the information it takes or the knowledge it takes to go into those fields.
Yeah.
Like you already play, like you were saying, break it down. People that just play video games when they get out of work. Look up how to start streaming. Buy all the things you need to start streaming and just do it.
In that same sense, like look at how your brother said how his generation spends their free time.
Yeah.
On social media all day. But look at...
But they're not creating social media.
How the influencer market has grown in the last 10 years. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, if you were an influencer, the only way you were doing that was by being a movie star or a talk show host or a celebrity of some sort was the only way you were going to be an influencer. And now we have these nobodies coming out and just developing a brand for themselves on all these social media platforms. Why? Because they're on social media all day anyways. And now they're creating that influencership for themselves and becoming an influencer.
So it should be a shift in, instead of just taking in all of this content, they should start creating content because they're going to be on it already.
Well, I feel that that's the point of pursuing a passion. To actively pursue a passion, you're working towards creating something. Like I said, whether it's a service or an actual product, if you're knitting sweaters, if you're on here trying to motivate people, you're creating a service in some way. And that's what it means to actually pursue your passion. Because that's going to be the foundation for all this. And then the next step is when you get through, loving the hustle, appreciating the hustle at the very least, it's, okay, now I already have this service or this product. Now what can I do to do that more?
Yeah.
What can I do to do that more? Well, to do that more, you need to start making some money off of it. And it's not even the pursuit of becoming a millionaire. It's not the pursuit of the dollar, because that's personally the issue I have with loving the hustle, is there's zero fulfillment in just that ideology.
Yeah.
It's an ideology that needs more things to piggyback off of, because if you just live your life loving the hustle, loving the grind, you'll never be happy. You'll never be fulfilled, because if you made $1 or $10 million, it's not enough, because your pursuit is the money.
Yeah.
And money has an infinite amount you can earn of it. So when do you become happy doing that? You don't. This is when we get to balance that, and become rational and realizing that if I love doing my passion, right? If I love podcasting, what do I have to do to release more podcasts?
spend more time creating more
spend
content.
more time doing it.
Yeah.
How do I do that? Well, if I eliminate my 9 to 5, I could do this a lot more. Like a lot more, right? So how do I do that? Well, I supplement my income by doing the podcasting.
Yeah, monetizing the podcast and then moving away from all the other distractions to then turn this into a 9 to 5.
And that's where that hustle mentality comes into play with your passion.
Yeah, but now since we're focusing on the hustle part, we also have to keep in mind that you can't let that go overboard. Because like I've mentioned in previous episodes when I talk about my stepdad, you know, he can't even take time to go grocery shopping because he's over here thinking and wanting to be growing his own business, which is his passion. So it's like that's just constantly taking up all of his time. It's like you have to be mindful that it doesn't spread out into affecting like your family, your relationships, your friends, and all that stuff, because it could be too much. You could spend too much of that hustle and bustle mentality on the passion that you have. So you have to be mindful of the amount of effort that you put into something like this.
I definitely agree with you up to a point on that, because obviously there is going to be an extreme case of anything where you run into issues if you're ever extreme for any reason. I think people need to realize that, especially nowadays. But let me ask you the simple question about that. If you're working a 9 to 5 job that you don't necessarily appreciate, it's just a skill set you have or whatever it is just to earn your money, and you do that 80 hours a week, how soon are you going to burn out?
9 to 5 is 40 hours a week.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is your 9 to 5 job, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about a job.
Yeah.
You're working a job and you're pushing overtime. How long does it take for you to burn out?
Oh, almost immediately.
Almost immediately.
Yeah, because you're not liking what you're doing.
And if you're pursuing your passion and you're putting in overtime on your passion and you're doing it 80 hours a week, how soon are you going to burn out?
Okay, so the difference in what I'm trying to say is not that it's going to be equivalent to just working that 9 to 5 job. Yeah, you're going to be loving what you're doing. It's going to be fulfilling you. But there is you have to have those times of rest. You have to have the times for family. And we've spoken about that before. You have to be able to put some time aside for the things outside of this, monetization career path, whatever you want to call it. There's other things in your life that you are affecting. Whether that be your family, if you have kids, they look up to you. They don't want to see somebody that's just, grinding away, because what's the difference from them seeing you do something that you love to you working 9 to 5 overtime all the time? You get what I'm saying? Like, they're not able to associate the difference.
Yeah, if you're gone and away, you're just gone
and away. Yeah.
But
So there are the little things that you have to be able to set aside some time, is what I'm saying. You can't let that overwhelm you.
Right, but that's kind of where I'm going by asking you that, is people are so caught up with working the job.
Yeah.
And even a career, right? Even making a career out of things and going hard on that. And the difference is when you pursue that passion, it's kind of that way to detect that you're pursuing your passion is that it's going to be really hard to burn yourself out doing it. So of course there is that need to have that protective layer of like, okay, well, I still, need to make time for the family and just be social, be a human being.
There you go.
But I think that as far as a society goes, that's the point of getting out of loving the hustle exclusively.
Yeah.
Because if you're pursuing a passion and you're hustling at it, you get that fulfillment. But for your average person who's not pursuing their passions in life, how are they getting their fulfillment? They're already getting their fulfillment by, I know a lot of people that they'll work a 9 to 5 and then they have their side thing going on. Like, like one of my coworkers, he's in a motorcycle club. Mm-hmm. His whole life is about that motorcycle club outside of work. So it's almost like you're doing your necessary tasks to get to enjoy your life.
Yeah.
And this is the mindset that a lot of people have. Like the 9 to 5, it's mandatory. Don't even think about it. Think about what you're doing after, because that's where you're going to get your fulfillment. And that's why I'm here to tell people that's not how it has to work.
Dude, what blew my mind is the fact that what you just said just clicked in my head. Because of this new shift that I'm doing, just 3 nights a week, it feels like wrong. I feel like I need to do 5 days a week, 9 to 5, because now it just doesn't feel right. Like thinking I need to work 5 days a week, 9 to 5 is my job or my requirements as a man or whatever you want to call it. But then now I'm doing the same amount of hours for more pay, less
days.
days. It feels weird.
Welcome to the point of this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the point I'm getting at.
But then it also gives me more time to, like we were talking about, focusing on other streams of revenue, streams being, underlying keyword. But being able to focus on other things and the rest that I've taken out of that as well, overworking myself pretty much 7 days a week on my old schedule, I was barely able to sleep. And we were talking about how important sleep is, and I'm getting the best sleep I've ever had. And it's all because of that less time spent on that job and more time spending on things that I'm actually passionate about.
Exactly. So that's why I say I kind of disagree with you a little bit, because I do, in the sense of that extremism. Extremism is never good no matter what it is.
Yeah.
But there is going to be a level of sacrifice. You can't just go from the standard way of working and make a shift without some type of sacrifice. Because you need to establish yourself. It's going to take time. I mean, especially if you don't even know what your passion is.
Well, yeah, that's something I talked about with Bill, is that sacrifice. Because that's something everybody kind of just throws around when you talk about following passion.
Yeah.
But it's really identifying what it is in that individual moment. In that case, case by case scenario, the sacrifice is usually different.
Yeah, and there are things you're going to do that it will burn out relationships and friendships. And I mean, especially for friendships, because when you talk about the standard level of fulfillment people get in their lives now, it's all about, I work hard and then I get off work and I party harder, right? Yeah. So then you have those friends that are all about that mentality. You are going to burn those friendships out, and it is going to feel like a sacrifice, but it is a sacrifice for the greater good. Obviously, you're not going to want to burn out your relationship with your family, your kids, your wife, or your husband. Like, you obviously don't want to do that, but you will still, even then, you're still going to put a strain on it, because there is a lot of extra hard work that's going to go into creating that foundation to allow you to pursue your passion with a hustler's mindset, make the money off of it, and enjoy life and get absolute fulfillment, because then you're getting your fulfillment in your work, in your personal life, 24/7, 24 hours a day, you're getting fulfillment. That sounds a lot better than putting in your sacrifice, your 40 to 60 hours a week, to get fulfillment for the rest of the time remaining. Because if you already sleep a third of your life, you work the other third, do you really just want to say you enjoyed 33% of your life? Or do you want to do more? And doing more is going to require a little bit of sacrifice.
I mean, did you just wrap up?
I mean, I kind of did just wrap up. Yeah, I'm definitely hitting a motivational side today.
That was really
I'm not trying to explain to people really how to pursue that passion. I'm just trying to motivate people to get out of the 9 to 5. And I blame it 100% on reading 4-hour work week all day. And I'm just like, this book is right. This system is screwed. Like, there's ways to go out there and go about it. I just want to motivate people to do that.
Well, I think you're doing a goddamn well job at it, because Jesus. Well, I hope some of you guys take some of that to heart, what he just said, and not just some of it, but all of it. I want you to really analyze and break down, your life. What he said, that's very important. Spend 1/3 of your life sleep, 1/3 working, and 1/3 enjoying, ? Try to make that, 66.666% you want, or maximize it and enjoy the sleep like I am. thank you guys so much for listening. This has been great. It's great having you back here. It's been like a week since you've been in front of the camera, Justin?
Yeah, it's been a minute. It was weird sitting back down.
Well, that's wonderful. It's been lots of fun. Really take this to heart, guys. Pursue that passion. Don't stick around that 9 to 5.
And just like going the extra mile, you guys can take your first step in going the extra mile by going down to the description here, going to all the social medias, check them out. We're on Facebook, we're on Parler, we're on Instagram. We're really going to be pushing a lot of content out on the Insta. So definitely check that out. You're going to get a lot of clips from a lot of previous episodes, maybe some hidden gems you missed. That's the only thing we're posting there really is these hidden gems. So go out there and check it out. Maybe you'll get just as motivated off of that as you did today.
Yeah, remember, we also have Vespertine merch. It's not our merch per se, but Vespertine, his line of apparel, it's amazing, great quality. We do have a discount code, 10% off, TMF in the description as well. All those links are posted, so you feel free, go over there, check it out. Support Vespertine, supporting us as well. We really appreciate you guys, and all of our videos come out Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. EST. Now go and get